The ANC National Working Committee yesterday reflected on the DA's stance to distance themselves from the national dialogue. The DA also threatened to bring a move of no confidence against President Cyril Ramaphosa, whilst also taking a stance against voting for the budget of ministries headed by alleged corrupt ANC leaders. Well, some SABC News senior reporter Samkele Maseko is with me in studio to discuss a number of political stories. Samkele, a very good afternoon to you. I want to, perhaps let's start with the ANC and then continue to this other breaking news story that we have here from the MK party. Just looking at the ANC National Working Committee, it was highly speculated that, of course, that this issue with the DA, the actions that they've now taken, will be high on that agenda. Do we know at this stage what was discussed in that meeting?
The issue of the Democratic Alliance's stance on the government of national unity is an issue of national importance. It was definitely discussed in the National Working Committee meeting of the ANC in preparation for the National Executive Committee meeting that will take place mid-month here in July, which will ultimately see the ANC reflecting on the ANC's view on the DA's participation in the government of national unity. There are some ANC NWC members who've been particularly unhappy, saying that the Secretary General Fikile Mbalula is running away with the NWC meeting, particularly with the ruckus relationship that the ANC has had with the DA, saying that the ANC must take an ultimate decision of removing the Democratic Alliance from the government of national unity because they are effectively being seen as disruptive with that threat of a motion of no confidence against the president, and ultimately also saying that they're losing confidence in the president, and the DA saying that they would not vote for a particular budget votes of ministries headed by alleged corrupt ANC leaders like Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, who is alleged to have lied to Parliament on that expert panel that was non-existent to appoint those particular boards of sitters within her ministry, and also allegations against Tembi Simelani, who is the Minister of Human Settlements, saying would not vote for her, and also going as far as going to the minister within the presidency, that was Kumbudzo Nchaveni as well. And I also saw pictures of the Deputy President Paul Mashatile on the Lotto scandal that has engulfed his particular family and sister-in-law, who is the sister to the wife, and that ultimately tells you the DA has also been very mum on that Lotto issue, to be quite frank. It is the EFF that has been quite vocal on that Lotto scandal that involves the Siakaya Holdings on the rollout of that tender to administer the Lotto for the next 4 or 5 years within the country. But ultimately, it does say that the ANC is heavily divided on this issue of the Democratic Alliance. There is a strong push for the removal of the DA. The DA is saying it will not make it easy for the ANC. It will not walk away. The ANC must ultimately take the punitive measure against the DA. But the relationship is very much fraught at this point in time. Absolutely.
And the DA choosing to walk away from the national dialogue. All right. Something else on my table. Breaking news from the MK party. It seems that there is some problems internally. I want to start with this letter from Dr. John Hlophe, the party's deputy president, writing to the president of the MKP. Break it down for us. What is happening internally here that we are seeing, particularly around the parliamentary caucus?
The MK party is a very much divided, uncohesive organization since its formation. There is a lot of disarrangement within that particular party. There is no particular political management taking place. They are very much divided. They are fraught with factions. Looking at this letter written by John Mandlakai Hlophe, the deputy president and caucus leader of the MK party, to the president of the MK party, it basically, point one, is disruptive and divisive behavior by commanders Zuma Sambudla and Tlamulo Ndlela. Basically going too far as to saying that Nhlamulo Ndlela is very disruptive in the caucus of the MK party. He perceives and at one point called Colleen Makhubela, the chief whip, a political novice and newcomer who needs to go to political education. And there were instances where Colleen Makhubela and the caucus leader John Hlophe had sent a letter to Nhlamulo Ndlela saying that he had been removed as part of the whippery. That seems to have irked the likes of Tutuzile Zuma Sambudla, whom Mandlakai Hlophe also says is very disruptive and exacerbated tensions within a caucus meeting of the party on the 23rd of June, where they dissolved the top management structure within the MK party in Parliament. But there is another letter that has been written a grievance against Colleen Makhubela, calling for her removal, saying that the caucus is very divided, it's not united, there's unilateral decisions being taken by the chief whip, and there is erosion of trust and credibility within the caucus, systematic failures and poor leadership from the chief whip of the party, which basically tells you that it's a roller coaster within the MK party. Mzwanele Manye was removed as well through his fights with the caucus leader in parliament, John Mandrai Sehlophe. There was no cohesion, there was no proper direction of the MK party within parliament.
I want to just highlight this point that Dr. John Hlophe makes in this letter. These issues have significant implications for the unity, operational efficiency and public image of our organization. Interestingly, some of these words were uttered by the former Secretary General of the MK party, Floyd Shivambu. What does that then tell us, particularly in terms of from a unity perspective in the leadership structures of this party?
A simple and straightforward answer. The MK party is a heavily divided organization. There is no cohesiveness. It is pretty much like everyone is sitting with the gunfire pointing to their opponent and firing. There's gunfire flaring all over the MK party by all leaders of that particular party. There is a faction that is the December 16 faction, the originals of the MK party, that feel as if they have been sidelined in top leadership roles of the party, and newcomers have been rewarded with positions, whether it be in the officials of the party, whether it be in the National Assembly. They feel as if they are overshadowed by these particular newcomers, and they want to bring back their particular organization. One source within the MK party, as I was coming up, was speaking on the phone. He basically said to me, Floyd Shivambu said everything correctly. The only problem with Floyd, he was impatient. And you need patience in order to sort out the MK party. But what patience can South Africans have? It's over a year since you've been formed. It's over 18 months since you've been formed. Over a year since the elections were in the country and you went to parliament. But you are an ineffective opposition within the National Assembly. You are being overtaken by your economic freedom fighters that have now self-proclaimed to be the official opposition within the country. So the MK party is heavily divided. It's fraught. It is factions. The December 16 movement, the originals of the MK as they call themselves, and these particular newcomers, your Colleen Makubelas, your Mzwanele Manyes, seemingly slugging it out for top positions within the party. And Mandla Sehlophe seems to be now choosing to side with Colleen Makubela against Nhlamulo Ndlela and Duduzile Zuma Sambuhle.
I may be missing a page, but there's a proposal for structural realignment that is perhaps the last steps. But what do you think the reaction of President Jacob Zuma is going to be here? Because yet again, we have the likes of very senior people that have been implicated in the likes, of course, of Duduzile Zuma Sambuhle, as well now as, of course, Nhlamulo Ndlela. What are we likely to hear from him?
It's going to be very difficult to preempt what President Zuma would say. As Floyd Shivambu said, you can take a decision as a structure in an office, organizationally. Then when you get home, when it's supper time, those whom are family members who also within the party structures, like Nhlamulo Ndlela sits in the high command of the party on the virtue that he's the spokesperson, and Duduzile Zuma Sambuhle, being the daughter of former President Zuma, has close proximity to the president of the MK party. So it would be very difficult to preempt what he would say, whether he would choose the family route or he would choose the political route. It's very highly difficult to preempt what would go on. But what is seemingly clear is that Colleen Makubela does have support within the MK party's top leadership, particularly from the deputy president of the party. But there are factions that are seemingly aligning themselves within the MK party. Dr. Mandla Sehlophe was fighting with Mzwanele Manye, the former chief whip, but there seems to be a realignment. Some are now backing him, but there is a strong core within the caucus of the MK party that seemingly supports Duduzile Zuma Sambuhle and Nhlamulo Ndlela, who is being touted as a possible Secretary General of the MK party. He is the current spokesperson. There are members that he also wants to be the chief whip of the organization within parliament. Duduzile Zuma Sambuhle as well. Some saying she's eyeing some positions with the organization. So it is an organization fraught by divisions and fraught by those who proclaim or self-proclaim themselves as the MK originals, the December 16 movement.
All right, Samkele, thank you so much for unpacking all of that for us. And of course, one wonders then how the relationship is like between the president and the deputy president of the MK party.
That is going to be rather interesting because ultimately John Hlophe gave up his life if one may put it in simple terms, for President Zuma, noting the charges that he faced, being disbarred, taking his entire pension, having his entire pension that he's worked so hard for removed from him because of a particular stance he may have taken during the court case. So everything of his is ultimately invested here. And he also had that particular ear and warmth of the economic freedom fighters, like Siyabonga Gama as well. But they have seemingly thrown that all away by going to the MK party and ditching the economic freedom fighters that were there for them in their time of need.
I wonder what that all means. All right, Samkele, thank you so much for that. Of course, breaking news there, just looking at the leadership structures of the MKP party in light of this letter to President Jacob Zuma by the Deputy President of the MK party.